There we go. That's it. This is episode 392 of No Laugh Track Podcast. I'm Justin Severson, the host. I am here with someone. I had to look back. I got here, and Brandon, who helps us with this, manager here at Acme, said, has Miss Shannan been on the podcast before? Yeah, but it's been
a couple years.
Long.
Yeah.
We've done at least two other ones. One goes back to 2014.
Wow.
Most recent, if I have it right, was 2017, the spring of 2017.
Time flies,
And here
Justin.
we are in October of 2020, Shannan.
But the last, 6 months feels like 10 years. So, there's been so much activity and non-activity and just changing of everything that it really feels like weird compressed time.
So it's nice to see you on this podcast for the first time in, let's say, 13 years.
Perfect. That works. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, yes, a lot has been happening. So you're doing the feature set this week at Acme. The headliner is John DeBoer.
One of my besties. Love working with him.
And he's great. And obviously, he's great. And legally, I couldn't have him on the podcast this week.
He's on a lot.
Well, he was one of the first people that was back when Acme opened up.
Right.
Opened back up. Then he did Crash and Burn 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So then when I saw that John was coming up to do headline, I was like, no, I love John. We need to give this time to someone else.
Do you?
Who's featuring?
I haven't heard his previous episodes recently. And so basically when he's not talking comedy, he's talking robots and AI. So if you want to do a divot and go over into that land, you can have him on as much as you want. You'll never run out of content.
No. He's got his nerd stuff going on.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it. So how have you been?
This is my number answer. I have been. And all complaints are systematic, not personal. That's how I've been. Yeah, that's my general feel of the way the world is going.
Yeah, right, I know. Isn't it a weird question to answer in 2020?
Right.
Oh, I'm doing awesome.
Right.
No, the fuck
not.
you are.
Right.
Nobody's doing awesome.
No, I'm like low-key angry black lady all the time. I just carry it well. But I'm good.
That's good. It's
in
been
the
wild.
grand scheme of things, I really am. I'm good. I've managed to keep busy. My kid is healthy. We're figuring it out, this adventure that we're on right now. But it's a challenge. I mean, you know how it is. You have kids, and they don't get it. They're just, he's just sick of me saying we can't go places and do stuff, and me trying to explain why is not sinking in. So he's just crabby at me all the time. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah. How have you gotten creative and not being able to go out and do stuff with your kid these days?
You know what? I was able to make us a better oasis at home. And especially with some of the additional challenges he has because he is on the autism spectrum. So the way that he processes language, that's the hard part, is explaining. He gets that I said, no, we can't, but trying to figure out a way to go, this is why we can't, so that he's not as emotionally wounded by the fact that we can't. And so that's the difficult part is gaining that. So I've just been trying to find different things because he's also 12, so he's like a moody tween anyway. So
tell me about it.
Right, exactly. And so you know how it is. Moody tweens are just already, I love you and then I hate you every 15 minutes, oscillating cycles. So
yeah.
So I'm just figuring it out like everybody else that has a kid this age.
Do you have an iPhone?
No. No.
Well, I do, and I'm bragging, but no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
They just gave a
fancy,
Justin. Let me tell you, for years.
Do you have those fancy AirPods too? Are you balling like that? No,
I have the $17 Amazon generic brand you've never heard of. That if I lose them, I'm not going to cry for a year. No, but so iPhone recently did an update where they have this. They have these little. It's set up differently now.
Right.
So I have this little app on my phone that will do pictures. Like each day, it updates with I don't even know how it chooses them. But there'll be 7 or 8 to 10 pictures that are new each day. Remember these memories?
Oh, interesting.
I love it, but
it just reminds you of how much time has passed with
your
kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's bringing up these pictures of, my kids when they were in the innocent happy smile of an 8-year-old versus the moody one of a tween.
Yep. Facebook does that to me all the time. I'm like, you were so tiny. Because not only, he was a big kid for the kid that he was at every age.
Yeah.
But now he's 12, but he's 5'4.5", so that means he's half an inch taller than I am.
It happens.
And he weighs 200 pounds and some change, so he outweighs me. So he is the dude in the house now. And his voice is kind of changing, so he's like, more pizza, please, Mom. And I'm like, okay, listen, what is going on? He's like, more pizza. But then he'll do little kid stuff, and then he comes back to, yeah, you're not the boss of me. I absolutely am the boss of you.
Damn
I don't
right.
care how much bigger you are. Mom's appropriately crazy, so you still have to deal with me. So, and you can't do anything yet. You still need me.
Oh yeah.
So no matter how much you think that you're autonomous, you're kind of not.
Yeah.
So you're still 12. So that part has been fun.
Wow, he's passed you up.
Definitely.
passed
I
you
knew
up.
that was coming though. My ex-husband is a giant in comparison to me too. So he got a lot of that. He got the shape, like the rectangular shape for me, and now he's all stretched out like his dad. So we definitely have a little hybrid. We're a good science experiment
There you go.
as far as breeding goes.
Hybrid. I like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So, I mean, you're always somebody that's so crazy busy. I didn't even mention last time I saw you, you've been named funniest best comedian. What's the actual
I
title?
was
they
best
gave you?
stand-up comedian for 2020 according to City Pages.
Yes.
Thank you. That was a good thing to wake.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was a good thing to wake up to on a Thursday morning. Because I didn't know, because there's two of them for everybody that doesn't know, because this causes like a quote unquote controversy. Because there's the one that you can vote for, and then there's like the editor's pick. And so I want editor's pick. So you don't know that you're up for it. You just wake up and the best of list comes out and you get it. And so my friend, I think so our friend Rudy Pavich,
Oh, yeah.
I get a text from Rudy and it's like, hey, congratulations. And there's a little picture of my name and winning this thing. And so because it's Rudy, I like fact check myself, like Google myself to make sure that it really did happen. Like, because that would be a weird thing to just prank me on. But who knows? Rudy could have woke up feeling all impossible Joker. So I don't know, or impractical Joker.
Yeah.
So I Googled it and I was like, whoa. And then by then the City Pages had started like sending out their tweaks and tagged me in some things. So
Yeah.
it was really cool. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna try and downplay it and act like I wasn't like ecstatic. It was like a super happy moment because of all of the garbage that's going on right now. To know that my art and my comedy and the things I've been working on cut through even amongst all this nonsense.
Heck yeah.
This was a good year, I felt, for me to win. And I really if anybody wants to go look at it and read the article, I was really happy about what they wrote about me.
Yeah.
As dumb as that sounds.
No. You should be.
Yeah. And so, I sent it to my mom and she said, what a surprisingly accurate write-up. And that's kind of how I felt too, is it basically said, you know what, she's a really good person who's funny.
Yeah.
To sum up what it said. And that's what I wanted to be.
That's awesome.
So, it was a good thing. I'll take that crown.
Damn right. Did they send you a belt, like a championship belt or a crown, like you
No,
just said?
they just tell you that you won, and then you can go to the website and download the little icon and put it on your stuff.
Oh,
so
yes,
it's in
yes,
the article
yes.
that said, hey, so I did that. I made myself a little thing and sent out a bunch of, hey, and, put it in with my headshots and made some web graphics of it.
Heck
Because
yeah.
that was cool. It was
Heck
fun.
yeah.
It was fun.
Well, that's awesome. So COVID and everything has screwed up the
Right.
amount of time you can spend on anything these days. But how much are you doing stand-up, or how much would you be doing stand-up?
A lot of my stuff, I was fortunate because I, like everybody else in April and May, the schedule's just scattered and you're just looking at your calendar going, I thought I was going to have a really good year.
Yeah.
And now it's just gone. So for me, I've been pretty busy because a lot of things that I've done have been able to pivot into the virtual world. So, I do a lot of corporates for like nonprofits. And so like I have one of those coming up where I'm going to go help them do an event. And so they've managed to do those virtual ones. So I've just kind of leaned into that space.
Yeah.
And then what I launched, and I don't think you had a chance to see this yet. You have to check it out. So what I had on deck is we have a streaming comedy variety show called Miss Shannon's Comedy Through the Chaos. And I picked that name before I knew that the world was going to be this chaotic. I had been sitting on that name for, a couple of years.
Yeah.
But originally what it was going to do is we're going to have a series of shows that we were going to do, and then we were going to record them all. And then we're going to have some roundtables afterwards with the performers, and we were going to talk about it because what we wanted comedy and what Comedy Through the Chaos does is it not only focuses on the performers, but it focuses on real life difficult subject matters and then uses comedy as a way to destigmatize things and start conversations.
Okay.
So instead of doing this one show that we scheduled, we'd use that as the pilot and then we turned it into a streaming show. And so we all went to the venue and it was just the performers and a few people on staff and Brandon, who helps out here, he's my, cameraman and helped us out there. And
Yeah.
so we filmed it and we streamed it every Sunday for 2 months on Facebook and YouTube. So we've got 6 episodes that we got together, and what we're doing right now is we're recutting some things that we did virtually because the world was literally on fire during the time that we were filming.
Especially where we live.
Yes, exactly. So there were times where our other people on our crew didn't want to leave their homes because they live over in South Minneapolis where everything was going wrong.
Sure.
But it gave me, with all the unrest and the bullshit that was going on, it gave me a chance to talk about all of the bullshit that was happening before.
Yeah.
But then also be able to lean into it because I got to expose and exercise all my demons, because instead of, okay, I just have to sit at home and be mad about stuff, I got to do a show on community trauma and talk about these things and get it all out there and figure out a way that I can be, instead of just one person's only black friend, I could be like 150 people's only black friend.
Yeah.
They could watch this show. So that helped keep me sane.
Who's the ultimate, who do you want to be watching this?
I think that it's really people, because it's funny, but it's also people that just want to feel like they're not alone. Because we did an episode on mental health and mental illness, and then one on addiction and recovery, and did one on pride and identity and anxiety. And so we talk about all these subject matters, and then I just have my funny performer friends that are open about that, because a lot of us have bits about real things.
Oh yeah.
And it's showing people, well, maybe it's not okay when you're going at the time, but as you go through it, there's moments of it that you can still think this is funny, and then you can go, okay, this is how I spin it into, I'm okay to talk about it, and I'm not alone, and I'm not a weird one. If they can tell a joke about it, I can live through it.
Sure.
So it's been fun. So it's out there. What we're doing right now is we're refilming, and we're gonna publish it to Amazon Prime, and do that. And then hopefully we have another season that comes up.
Very
Hopefully.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
So people can find that right now.
Facebook and YouTube. Just
on
look
your
for
YouTube page?
Yep. Well, actually, just look. It's easier than that even. Just look for Comedy Through the Chaos.
Okay.
And you find it, and we'll pop up all over the place. So.
I have to tell you, I think I realized why this wasn't on my radar, because I dropped out off of Facebook for most of the summer.
Yeah, and that's
I
where
got
we're doing it.
really fed up with people arguing, and I just needed to take a step back and not.
Understandable. Yeah.
I'm back again, but it was probably 3 months.
Yeah,
I bet.
and we did
I didn't look
it-
at anything. I didn't log. I just completely stopped looking, and that's probably when this was
Right,
happening.
and we did it for it was a hustle, because we were shooting on a pretty tight schedule and trying to turn them really quick and do one out, do one every week. And there was a couple of weeks where, hey, we decided we're not going to air this tonight because a truck ran through a bunch of protesters on the 35W
Yeah.
bridge. So I would just go online and go, hey, normally we'd be playing this. Everybody turn over and watch The Governor. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
I was super honest where there's some things where I'm like, hey, everybody's been asking me why all this stuff is going on. Here's the Cliff Notes version of everything, everybody, since you don't want to go read, history. I'm like, well, help it. So it was cool to be able to do that and still spin it and talk to it, because every episode, not only do we talk to the comedians and talk about different subject matters, but we also have like a subject matter expert. So if we're talking about addiction recovery, we'll have a conversation with a therapist as well.
Wow.
That talks about stuff. So,
Wow.
or if we're talking about, we have an episode called Broke is a Joke. So I sit down with a financial advisor that gives some tips at the end and doesn't just say, stay broke. So it's been fun. I know it's a little weird for people to wrap their head around that you have this comedy show that's kind of like a comedy / wellness product, but that was important to me. I love telling jokes. And I love going places and telling jokes. But I just kind of got to the point where I needed to be able to do more as well.
I think where we are now, more things like that are going to be happening.
Because it's hard. I don't know what everybody else has said, but it's hard some days when it's your job to show up and be funny, and people don't get that you have like real life shit that's bothering you too.
Sure.
And a lot of times you can turn it off and just go, this is my job, and you just show up. But it's definitely hard to do that these days, because there's so much stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to not lean into it. And so being able to go, this is the way I choose to focus on all of the traumatic things that are going on in life. That's been cool for me to be able to do that.
So I have to. I want to talk about some other things. So the write-up about Best Comedian.
Yes.
It also mentions the radio
Yes.
and TV stuff.
Yes.
Say a couple things about. Are you still doing radio?
I'm still doing radio. Currently I work at My Talk 107.1, the entertainment pop culture station in town, and it's been great. I'm glad I'm over there. I mostly host a show called The Mom Show, where again we get to talk about stuff that's and it's called The Mom Show, but it's not always super mom focused. It's more just life focused.
Sure.
And we have a bunch of experts, so we just talk about real world stuff. And I call it edutainment because it's still entertaining. But if you're a person that watches HGTV or you're a person that watches, all of those quasi documentary type channels where they're still funny, that's what I host on that show. So I really do that. And I still pop in on the Jason show. That's the TV show I do in town. And it's different because honestly, I could be on more if I could figure out how to do what I did in this new world that we live in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I did was like man on the street interviews or showing up at the mall and just harassing people that are trying to shop. And I haven't figured out how to do that. Here's what I think I'm going to do. I was Googling this morning. I was trying to find a full-size adult hamster wheel, like a hamster bubble.
Okay.
And so if I could figure out
then you're going to go in that?
Yeah, I'd go, because that would be, okay, good. I'm glad you laughed because I'm like, maybe this is stupid, but I think it's funny. If I could find one of those big bubbles, because then we could still talk to people and I wouldn't be in their space and they wouldn't be in my space, and then that's what I would do. Because that's what I have to find.
Can you hear someone when they're talking?
I don't know yet.
Well, I suppose, you'd be mic'd, but the person that you're talking to
I might have
to
to shout, Jay. I might have to shout. I don't know. I can shout. But that's the whole point, is that how do we interact in this new world and have it make sense that's not all virtual? And that's what I'm working on. I have to find one. Because when you try to look for, because you can just go on Amazon and try and search for adult-size hamster ball. But a lot of what you get are those, maybe you've seen them, where basically it's just a big inflatable globe that you put on, and it's made for people that want to do pretend sumo wrestling and banging each other.
Oh yeah, but your head's sticking out.
Right.
Yeah,
and there's one where your head isn't sticking out, but again, it's too close. I want one that's more like the size of a giant beach ball, but you could stand in it. That's what I want. You can just wander around in it. And I haven't found one yet.
Yeah, who's the band? The Flaming Lips. I used to go see the Flaming Lips in concert, and their lead singer would go during the shows, would get in one of those.
Right.
And people would pass him over.
Exactly.
Like it was
I know
their
they
version
exist.
of mosh pits.
Exactly.
Pass him over. Yeah.
I know they exist. I just haven't figured out exactly what to call them. So if anybody listening knows a better term than adult-sized hamster bubble, let me know, because I'm just not looking for the right thing, and that's gonna be my jam. So nobody steal that idea just because you know where to find one. That's Miss Shannon's jam. So I'm gonna do that on the show.
Oh, that
because
is so
honestly,
funny.
the last bit that I filmed in March for the Jason show, because we've done just interviews, just he and I have just checked in. It was literally something you could never do right now. I was at Rosedale Center, and it was National Ranch Dressing Day, and so I went there and I just bought a bunch of food that I got at the dollar store, and I just made a bunch of things like jelly beans and chocolate cupcakes and brownies and egg rolls and cherry jello. I just put a bunch of stuff on a bunch of serving trays in those little sample cups. And I wore a glove because in my head I was thinking lunch lady, not COVID. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to touch these food things. And I would just ask people, hey, do you really like ranch dressing? And if they said yes, I'm like, well, let's test that.
In all these different...
Right. Does ranch make everything taste better? And so I was just standing there pouring ranch dressing, and then people were just taking food from this strange lady in the mall, eating it. There's nothing about that. It's stuff that we do right now.
Yeah.
So
no double dipping.
No. And I didn't have them doing that. But, it was really funny. We had a good time. But the world is a completely different world, says March.
Yeah. For the record, what's your opinion on ranch dressing on stuff?
I'm not a big fan, so I was okay. The best thing I think I made, and my friend who came to help me shoot this bit did not agree, is that I put ranch. I wanted to make one drink, so I made shots of ranch dressing with caramel coffee cooler, and I shook it up like you were like this thing. And that I thought tasted the best of all of it, but that's probably because I don't really like ranch and I don't really like coffee. So the two of them together, I'm like, they make them both better. Both of these things work out. And you could tell some people were really on board with it because they either really loved ranch dressing, or if you put ranch dressing on chocolate cake, it kind of seems artisan. So it's like the people that put rosemary and thyme in everything that they bake to be fancy,
yeah.
Or if they make some lavender chiffon cheesecake, anything that you see on Great British Baking Show, that's kind of what ranch does to stuff.
White trash.
If you look at it, yeah. So it zhuzhes up your cupcakes.
The great white trash bake-off.
Right, exactly. Put ranch dressing in everything and see how it goes.
Oh,
so
boy.
It was a fun time.
Boy, hey, as a parent, I have a question for you. How are you going to handle Halloween this year? Have you thought about that?
I am lucky because my kid doesn't care. Like, mom's the one that likes to dress up in costumes and do all that stuff. He doesn't
know that.
care. Right, exactly. He does not care at all. So, like, every year he dresses up because I've decided that we should dress up. And then he basically, like, stands around long enough for me to take the picture and literally has that face like, would you hurry up, Mom? That face. And I take the pictures, and then he just likes to give the candy out. So he doesn't care. So if nobody comes to get candies, he'll be no harm, no foul. So I'm lucky as far as that goes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. So I can't even lie. That's one of the fortunate things. My kids like not wounded about that holiday at all.
No, that's good.
You know, and that's honestly one of the best things that's happened to about this. I'm like the most extroverted extrovert you could find. My kid, not so much. So he's a lot more introverted anyway. So he's like, I don't want to go all those places, any place. You know, I don't want to go those places anyway.
Yeah.
Mom's the one that filled the agenda. So a lot of the things he's been cool with, because he didn't have swimming lessons anymore. Mom's not trying to make him go to karate. Mom didn't put him in this basketball thing that he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So he's cool with it. I mean, I got to be honest. That part I've been pretty blessed about.
He's telling people to keep their masks off.
Right?
Let's
no,
keep this going.
no,
I'm
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. No, he's not. He's not. You know, he's not out there just causing decision. He's not that kid.
12-year-old anti-masker.
Exactly. Thank God. No, not at all. He's pretty chill about the whole thing. He's like, how do I get to the next Thomas the Tank Engine episode?
There we go.
That's all I care.
There
so
we
he's
go.
focused.
Did you see? I want to bring up a kind of a geeky thing that I think you might be interested in this. You probably know about it. A cartoon from like 20-some years ago that I loved is coming back. Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, yeah, I saw
and
that.
Animaniacs.
Well, because Animaniacs, they were talking about how that was going to get relaunched, and everybody got really excited about that because they did a good job when DuckTales relaunched.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, so when DuckTales relaunched, they're like, okay, cool, we can do this. And so I have, like, I'm this big a nerd about Animaniacs. They had a talking cube that you could buy back in the day where you pick it up, and then they would say, like, Wacko and Dot, and it would all say things. So I still have that in my office. Because one of my favorite episodes, like, there was a reason why that animated series won Emmys and all the time. It was award-winning for a reason.
It was so sharp.
Yes. And so I think that it has a lot of potential. I'm on board with that.
Yes.
And I do, you know, whenever you see one of those social media quizzes where they go, what's something that you quote too often? I do still say, what are we going to do tonight, brain?
Yeah.
Try to take over the same thing we do every night. You know,
Try to take over the world.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I'm on board with it.
I am too. And it's going to be the same voice actors.
Which will be fun. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad for that because, you know, we have some friends that are dabbling in the voice actor world now. And so it always makes me sad when our friends that are, you know, good voice actors but not names get bumped by somebody that's a name.
Yep.
Because I get it, because now you have this name. But I'm like, come on, dude, move around. You already got all this stuff. Everybody's used to seeing you. Don't steal my friend's gig.
I completely agree. I've still, you know, like loved the Muppets, but now some of those have different voice actors.
Well, I mean, and then some of that we didn't have a choice. Like either
that's
the
true.
actor was problematic or passed on.
Yeah.
So if they're around, I say give it back to them.
Yeah.
Give them back to them.
yeah.
But then sometimes somebody, it's a good way to sunset their career because we know them like Mark Hamill. You know, we all know him as Luke Skywalker, but then he did a great job as the Joker in the Batman. Or John DeLancey, if you're a Star Trek nerd. He's like on some new shows. Like he's on the new My Little Pony series. He plays Chaos. Chaos? I might be misquoting that. So sorry, Mr. Delancey, if I no, or Discord. He plays Discord. So
who was
John
he on Star
Delancey
Trek?
played Q on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh,
and,
I know who. Okay, yeah.
And then
yeah.
he popped up in like he wasn't in Enterprise, but he was in why did I just forget the name of it? The one that had Captain Janeway. So he was on that one. So yeah. So his Q popped up in that one. So he played Q. He's played a bunch of other stuff, but most Star Trek nerds know him as Q.
Yeah. Hey, so one other thing I wanted to ask you about is in that write-up from the City page that mentions that you hosted a thing with the cast of Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
And now I had to look it up because here's the thing. Here's a funny how things tie in. So the Twins, our baseball team here, they're already done. They lost their second playoff game this week, and they're already done. They've lost now, 18 playoff games in a row.
You know, the radio station I used to work at used to be owned by the people that own the Twins. So I used to live. My building was across that, so you could just feel the sadness walk across the street
I bet.
from
I
Target
bet.
Field. I was quite familiar. You're like, oh no. Yeah.
So they've lost 18 playoff games in a row. That goes back to I saw somebody post this on Twitter last night. The last time the Twins won a playoff game, Napoleon Dynamite was in theaters. And you hosted the 15-year reunion
Yeah,
last summer.
And they're fantastic. They're absolutely amazing.
I bet.
Because it was John Heder and the other two main guys whose names went out of my head just right now.
Are you talking about we call them by their character names?
So the gentleman who played Pedro, and then the gentleman who played
Ramirez.
Ephraim Ramirez, yes, and then the gentleman who played his uncle.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can see him, and his
Me
name is
too.
really easy, and I can't think of it right now because they are all fantastic. And it was so fun because I had seen Napoleon Dynamite since then. And that was one of those things it came in the theaters after I had just moved here to Minneapolis. And my mom and my younger sisters and I all went to go see that at a theater over in Plymouth.
Yeah.
And so we got to see it in the theaters. And so it was so fun to see it again on a giant screen around so many people because we did it at the Ordway in one of their theater spaces. And so to hear that big auditorium full of people laugh at the things and still really love this property was amazing. And it's one of the movies that I use because a lot of the movies that came out in that era and about 10 years before that, they don't hold up. And you watch them again now, you're like, this is why did we think that was funny? And everything about this is creepy.
Yeah.
But Napoleon Dynamite, I really think holds up so well. I give it a 98% holds up. There's only one thing in there that I kind of pick apart, and it's very easy for me to say that made sense for when they made that movie. And I could totally just dispel why they did this one thing that I go, well, they probably shouldn't have said that now if we did it in 2020. But it totally made sense what they were doing at the time. And, it's funny because as someone who kind of considered herself like slightly left of center, like a little like, if you're going to be one of the weird kids, I'm a little bit one of the weird kids and I'm totally fine with that. It makes you even more proud to be one of the weird kids because the weird kids in Napoleon Dynamite are the champions and the heroes.
Yeah.
And the people that are doing quote unquote normal stuff, you're like, that is not normal. Why are you that person? Like it almost makes you, because one scene that I remember in particular is watching the one where there's one where Napoleon's gotten back to class after going to lunch and he had his tater tots in his pocket. And he's starting to eat his tater tots out of his pocket. And one of his classmates goes, hey, give me a tot. And he's like, no. Right? And the guy kicks him in the pants and tries to ruin his tater tots. I'm going, well, what are you doing trying to take his tots anyway? You're the weird bully. Leave him and his tots alone.
I can't believe it's like you're reading my mind. Honestly, that's the only scene I'm picturing in my head. I mean, I've seen the movie 4 times. It's the only scene I was just picturing in my head.
Right.
10 seconds ago before you said that.
Right.
I'm like,
It's him
the
and his
tots.
tots. Right. Him and his tots.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so, and just. I just really appreciate that character and all the stories about how they got that film made.
Oh yeah.
And it was really just so grassroots at the time. And they never knew that MTV Productions was going to pick it up and it was really going to go anyplace.
Oh, I still remember a friend of mine saying he loved it. I'm like, are you what?
Yeah. It is
what is
awesome.
it called?
Right. And you're like, huh? Right.
You got to see it.
Exactly.
You have to see it. I'm telling you, you have to see it.
And the fact that it's set in, for the time, pretty much current time, like in the 2000s. But because it's so super Midwestern flavored, it seems like it's set in the 80s.
Yes, 80s.
Because they still have a bunch. They were just showcasing stuff moves slow in some of these smaller Midwestern towns. And that was just fabulous. And I just know so many people that remind me of Napoleon Dynamite, and we can see ourselves in those characters. So I still love that movie. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, you can still find moon boots in people's closets.
Of course,
yeah.
of course, and I have that kid that he would wear them all year if I didn't go, come on, kid, those are heavy, put them away, and he's like, but I'm like, I know you're rocking them, put them away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was fabulous. I can't complain. That was a cool gig.
That is, I'm jealous. That would sound like, and I saw there was a llama. What, really, on stage?
Oh yeah. So they had we didn't have the llama on stage, but we did have a llama out front, so everybody could come hang out and take pictures with the llamas because that is the other star of Napoleon Dynamite. And so
come eat your ham, Tina.
Right. He's like, Tina, and he got all mad and threw her food. So yeah, so he was great.
Were they honest about whether it was the actual llama from the movie?
It was not. It was a stand-in llama.
Like a Minnesota llama.
Yeah. It was a local llama. So sometimes you got to keep it local, Jay. You got to keep it local.
I guess.
You got to keep it local.
Did you? So with COVID and everything, it really has pushed back a lot of movies, right?
Yep.
A lot of comic book movies. I mean,
Oh,
every
gosh,
movie's been
every
pushed
movie,
back.
yeah.
But stuff that I'm pretty sure you were getting excited about. Here's one that did come out. I wonder if did you watch Bill and Ted come back here?
The new one, no, I didn't, and it was on my little list to watch, and
Okay.
I didn't have any reason not to watch it other than I was just kind of busy. And when I say I'm busy, it's I'm either working or my kid's home.
Yeah.
And so I'm busy when he's home, and it's hard for me to pay attention to anything like that. So I'm just way behind on a lot of shows that I really want to watch.
Okay.
Because, like, for instance, for the first 3 months that we were shut down, he was with me full time. And then things opened up a little bit, and we felt a little safer. So now he goes to his dad's again.
Gotcha. Oh,
sometime. But then when he's at his dad, that's when I try to cram in all my adulting time and then film and do all these other things. Because we're like everybody else. We're doing Zoom school all day long. You know, like all the people in my video game alliances are all mad at me because they don't have kids, so they got all time. You know, they're like crushing it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have any time today. Like none. I got to figure out how to teach my kid how to read. Okay, I'm busy. But I wanted to watch Bill and Ted because I stand Keanu Reeves so hard. Like everything about Keanu Reeves, and the more you know about him, the cooler he seems. And there's a video that I watched about 100 times. It was a BuzzFeed video, and people could write questions into him. But as he's answering the questions, they just had him sitting on the floor with 10 puppies, hanging out with puppies. I'm like, okay, Keanu, you have my heart. You kind of thing. Like, what about that? And he's just always so genuine and cool about things that, you know, I'm sure that there's some deep, dark secret about Keanu Reeves that we don't know, but I'm not going to keep looking for it because right now I'm like, everything is perfect.
Yeah.
I kind of think everything's great.
Yeah.
So did you watch it?
No, but
Okay.
I I definitely.
It's kind of the thing that I would have watched.
I
you
had
know?
connections. I mean, when the first original one came out, that was like a big deal in my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd be more excited. I was like, oh my god, you know, it's
My
coming
friends
back.
dug it, and I have fan art. I have a fan art because they both are timey-wimey related. I have a fan art that I got at one of the local conventions where it's Bill and Ted coming out of the telephone booth next to David Tennant's doctor and Rose coming out of the TARDIS. And somebody did a mashup, and that's like, I have the art in my basement.
That's
I have
cool.
no reason
Yep.
not to be into this thing. I'm like, oh, everything about this I want to do. I'm just behind.
Yeah.
So if anybody's listening wants to give me a review, because I always need other adults to tell me how I should prioritize my adulting as far as viewing goes. Because I kind of go, all right, well, if I'm only going to have one night to watch a thing, what should I watch first?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like, I don't even like to use the word good. I mean, what'll be entertaining or interesting, because like one of the last things I stopped everything to watch was the Tiger King. It's not good, but it was dope to watch,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. I'm like, I don't feel like that was wasted time at all. This was fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And so I watch lots of things that are just interesting or funny or cool and not quote unquote good.
We had that in my house for Space Force
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
I waited for someone whose opinion that I value, and he's
Right.
like, "You should I think you'll dig it."
So you're like, okay, I'm on.
And I did,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was. I'm glad I watched it.
Right.
It's not the funniest thing,
But you
it was
liked it.
fun.
Right.
It was funny. It
Right.
wasn't the funniest.
Right. And I think
wasn't a
that's
waste of
important.
time.
Yeah, it's important. It's like, okay, I just want to sit down, because otherwise I'll default to things I already like old Doctor Who episodes. Or I was super into Midsummer Murders, or at the beginning of the summer, and just was watching that all the time because it's about murders, but it's surprisingly soothing to watch Midsummer Murders. It's like, it's right, because it's not murders.
Say that out loud again. Listen to what you're saying.
It's surprisingly sooner to watch, because if you haven't watched it, it's very British in nature and very Poirot-ish, Agatha Christie in nature, where people get murdered, but you don't see really much of it. It's not a gory show. It's not it's not even like Criminal Minds, where you think these people really could find you, because a lot of the subject matter is over stuff that doesn't really happen. Like literally an episode is about the black market orchid trade, and everybody gets murdered because they're in this black market, orchid ring, or like a bunch of
It's very relatable.
Exactly. Like the choirs have some, or the Bellringers have beef with the choir members and stuff. So you're like, I can totally watch all this because it's just interesting to go, they're upset about what?
Yeah.
You kind of thing. I could. Next time
you
I
need to learn more about Bellringers. That's
Right.
very common, actually. Told my kids to stay out of that. No.
it's not the career you want to pick.
No, you find a different lifestyle.
But
We're
it's
not-
actually very, it looks, according to the episode, cardiovascularly, you need a lot of strength. It requires some stamina. I think if you're going to do that.
I was raised going to church often, on
Uh-huh.
Sundays, and it never ceased to make me laugh of the look of concentration on the Bellringers.
Exactly. Yeah.
They pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
wait for their moment, and then boom, boom, boom.
And even more than that, this is the ones that there was a number of teams that had it up in the tower where they're like pulling like the bell cords Quasimodo style. And that's what this episode is about.
Oh boy.
Is them all up there in the towers playing all these different songs and how they'd have to practice. I'm going to send you the episode link so you can watch Midsummer Murders.
I like it. Final thing I want to ask you about is how are you using social media these days?
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, I'm still trying my best to promote any of the things that I have going on, but I pivoted a lot in my social media because I do talk about the stuff I have going on, and I do have things that are going on. But I do a lot of what I call mental wellness posts. You know, I kind of was one of those people. It started a while back now. A girlfriend of mine was out in LA, and she's a good actor and a great actor and a good friend of mine, had tagged me in for that 25 push-ups for 25 days challenge.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about mental health and mental illness and PTSD, and it's all for suicide prevention awareness. And that's something that's really impacted me. You know, I've lost too many people because of that. Yeah, I've lost too many people. And so that really resonated with me, especially with all of the additional trauma and stressors that we have going on right now. So I started that, and then for anybody who's not familiar with it, it was this thing that it was a social media thing, and so somebody will tag you in, and you're supposed to like tag other people.
Yeah.
And after I started it, I had a bunch of friends that agreed to do it, and then my friend that started with me, she got to day 25 and decided to keep doing it. And part of it is because for certain ones of us, you're amazed at how much you're mentally impacted by being able to do that every day and have that thing that you do every day where you check in with yourself mentally and you check in with your friends and you think about those things. And so I agreed with her. So I kind of said, when I got to 25 days, I was at least going to keep going until she stopped or everybody that I tagged in completed it.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that every day. Yesterday was day 90. So today is day 91.
Well, that explains how confusing that was for me. I'm like, 90's way more than 25.
Right. And so, you know, but it really was one of those things that the reason why I kept doing it is that the problem's not solved. You know, it's still, we're still in it. And so if I can use like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of my day to remind people that you can get help and it's okay to not be okay and it's okay to think about these things and we're all in it and we're all having our challenges and you can get to one more day, then if nothing else, I have 2 minutes of my day to go, hey man, I'll see you back here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And hopefully it helps. I mean, it's, you know, right now there's a lot of heavy shit going on. You know, there's a lot of heavy things.
For sure.
And it's really hard to have those moments where we still feel connected and you feel like you don't have to be perfect. And that's what I do with my social media right now. I do other stuff, so it's not all heavy stuff.
Are the push-ups getting easier?
Yes. You know, they actually got easier a while ago, and it really depends on the day. But you know, for a while, like I was doing them on my knees. Now most days I'm doing them in planks.
There you go.
I've gotten a lot faster. And it's funny because the push-ups have gotten easier, but most people know that I'm doing them to talk about the subject matter. And I'm not going to be like, you know, American Gladiator in my push-ups. And there's always like, it's usually a dude. It's usually like a middle-aged white dude that's all like, well, where I'm going, you know what, move around. You know, kind of thing. Come on. Really, so like there was one day, you know, because my kid like hijacks the video a lot of times. And you know, where there's one day where he's literally leaning on me. Mm-hmm. And so I got this 200-pound kid that's leaning on me. And somebody's like, well, you didn't go down low enough. I'm like, did you see the child that I birthed leaning on me? I'm like, you're like, I made this whole thing. Like, whatever. So it just reminds you that everybody has their thing, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
I'm never surprised by people when they do something ridiculous these days.
That's a good way to look at that.
Yeah.
That's a very positive way to look at that. All right, well, I wish you continued success. It's been great to see you and hang out for a little bit here.
Thanks, and congratulations to you and your babies.
Thank you.
All the kids. I hope you guys continue to do well. Tell your lovely lady friend that I miss her face, and I'm glad she's doing well.
Oh, she'll be happy to hear that. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So people come out and see the shows here.
Yeah, please
this
do. Come out.
weekend with Miss Shannon and John DeBoer and Mo's
is here.
The MC. He's been killing it these days.
And I want to mention this too, because a few people had asked me this about some of my other shows. Another great thing that's going on here at Acme is that if you can't make it out, you can always stream us.
Yes.
And that's, some people who hadn't gotten out to some of my shows before, I'm like, here's your opportunity. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your couch. You can watch us online, and so you have no excuses. So watch it. And you know what? The lines to the bathroom are much shorter in your house. You'll be fine.
Yeah,
You'll be fine. Just watch it in your house.
I'm glad you said that. I've been promoting that as much as possible on the
Yeah.
podcast. I didn't mention this week yet, but yeah, I watched last night's on Zoom. I've been watching most of them on Zoom, and it's great.
Exactly.
It's great.
Take advantage of it while you can. So we appreciate that they're doing that.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. Hey, so